In this video, we're going to talk about the Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem was discovered over 2,000 years ago by a Greek philosopher named Pythagoras. The Pythagorean theorem is used to find the missing side of a right triangle. A right triangle means it is not acute or obtuse. It has one 90-degree angle. What Pythagoras discovered is that you can use the equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared to find the missing side of the right triangle. What you do is plug in the numbers you know and solve for the number you don't know. On the right triangle, we have A and B. These are called the legs, and they're attached to that right angle. We also have something called the hypotenuse. That's C. C is the angle directly across from the right angle. C is also the longest side. Let's go through a problem where we have to find the missing side using the Pythagorean theorem. On the triangle below, we have our right angle. So we know that we can use the Pythagorean theorem to find x. Now remember, our equation is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A and b are the legs. They're the numbers that are attached to the right angle. So we know a and b are 12 and 5. It doesn't really matter which one we plug in for a and which one we plug in for b, because we can add in any order. That means that we're missing C, which makes sense because C is the hypotenuse. It's the side that's across from the right angle. So X is really the C. So now that we know we're missing C, we can plug 12 and 5 in for A and B. Now we can start solving our equation. 12 squared is 12 times 12, which is 144. 5 squared is 5 times 5, which is 25. Now we can take and add 144 and 25. That gets us 169. So we have 169 equals c squared. We don't want to know what c squared equals, we want to know what c equals. You can eliminate the square by square rooting. But what you do to one side of the equal sign, you must do to the other to keep the balance. The square root and the square cancel, and we're left with the square root of 169. Now, if you have a calculator, you can type this in, or you could see that 169 is a perfect square. 13 times 13 gets you 169. So C is equal to 13. That means the missing side of the triangle is 13 kilometers. Let's go through another example. This time, when we find our right angle, we see that we're given C. That's because it's across from the right angle. We're missing one of our legs. And we have the other leg. Recall that the equation is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Since we know that c is 10, we can plug 10 in for c squared. And we're missing one of the legs. It doesn't matter which one you say is missing because we can add in any order. I'm going to say we're missing a. So we have a squared plus 6 squared equals 10 squared. Next, let's solve what we can. We can't solve anything with a squared, so we're just going to bring that down. 6 squared is 6 times 6, which is 36. And 10 squared is 10 times 10, which is 100. Now we have to get a by itself. To eliminate the plus 36, we can do the inverse operation of addition, which is subtraction. But what you do to one side, you must do to the other. That leaves us with a squared equals 64. Finally, we don't want a squared. We just want a. So we have to eliminate the square by square rooting. What you do to one side, you must do to the other. The square and the square root cancel, leaving us with the a, and the square root of 64 is 8, because 8 times 8 is 64. So the missing side length is 8 miles. Let's go through one final problem. This problem says that we need to decide if the triangle is a right triangle. Remember, the Pythagorean theorem only works for right triangles. If we plug numbers into the Pythagorean theorem and it works out, then we know we have a right triangle. The first thing we need to decide is which side is our C. C is the longest side, so we know we have 6, 8, and 9. 9 must be C because it's the longest. So we can plug 9 in for C. Then we're going to test out to see, is this a right angle? Plugging in 6 for A and 8 for B. Now let's test it out. 6 squared is 36. And 8 squared is 64. 9 squared is 81. Solve 36 plus 64. That gets us 100. Does 100 equal 81? It is not equal. Because our two sides are not equal, we do not have a right triangle. Had the two sides been equal, then it would have been a right triangle.